Easton Cowan does not make the Maple Leafs opening night roster as a pair of waiver claims do. Hey everyone, welcome to Inside the Leafs. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Toronto Sun Maple Leafs writers Terry Koshan and Lance Hornby. And guys, it wasn't that long ago we were talking about Easton Cowan's preseason performance and how it looked like he was trending towards a spot on the NHL roster to start the season, Terry. But as we record this, the day after the day before, I should say, the Maple Leafs opened their season against Montreal, he is set to begin the year in the AHL. What changed over the last week, Terry?
Well, it's fairly simple. The Scott Laughton injury is what changed. That line of Laughton between Lorentz and Cowan had been great or good all through camp, really solid. In fact, I can't remember when it was. These days all run together, but at one point, Brewery was asked about the lines, the 4 lines that he was planning to go with. And that was the one that he'd singled out that he was probably most happy with and the one that had gelled the most. And, Laughton blocks the shot. Moritz Seider shot against the Wings Thursday off the left leg, and that's it. So he's out for a while. And, Cowan, as a result of the line juggling, loses his spot. And, as confident as they were in Cowan, playing on that line and doing a good job, then not as much, obviously, in the fact that he could pivot quickly and get used to new line mates, whether it was with Lorentz and someone else or 2 new line mates altogether. So I think it's a no-lose situation for Cowan. Go down to the Marlies, develop, tear it up a bit. You're going to get a lot of minutes down there and come back at some point. And, people shouldn't worry about this in the long run. He's going to be a Maple Leaf for a long, long time, and he's going to make a good impact. It just happens to be that as of right now, that start is going to be delayed a bit.
Yeah, it is a tough break for Laughton, first of all, and then certainly for Cowan. And Craig Berube, judging by his comments, as Terry alluded to leading up, he really liked him, really wanted to see him get off to a good start. But as much as Berube might have loved him, maybe especially when you consider that it would take him a little bit to get on another line. Perhaps the cap situation and Brandon Pridham and Brad Treliving didn't like him in that case, and that they have to fit other people in there at some point. And until he gets settled away, and that shouldn't be, to Terry's point, very long on the Marlies. They had other people to accommodate, and I'm sure Craig Berube had a big say in it when Sammy Blais' name popped in, the former St. Louis Blue. I guess we'll get to him a little later, but that's the move they're comfortable starting off with. Cowan was really good, I think, but not overwhelming to the point where the Maple Leafs couldn't look at someone else, especially after the Laughton injury. And speaking to Lorentz yesterday, he said, I got a lot of faith in this kid. I think anybody who tries to make the NHL early on in their career has to be able to play in another line. And he thinks Cowan will have that ability. Maybe just may take a few weeks on the farm for him to find that comfort zone and maybe for a spot to open up with the Leafs.
Of course, and as Terry said, this guy's going to be a Maple Leaf for a long time, so I don't think people should be too worried about how things go for him moving forward, but a great opportunity to get a ton of minutes down with the Toronto Marlies. So as you mentioned, Lance, Sammy Blais, one of the waiver claims by the Maple Leafs yesterday, and along with goalie Cayden Primeau, who now slots in as the backup goalie behind Anthony Stolarz to begin the season. James Reimer released from his PTO. You mentioned the familiarity that Craig Berube has with at least one of these players. How do you think they'll both fit into this mix, at least early on in the season?
Well, a lot of moving parts with these two guys coming in. Again, part of it, predisposed by the Laughton injury. Blais, a guy who's very well known, certainly to Montreal and in St. Louis, and he's a player. I think he's big. I think I'm not going to pretend I know the guy really well, but he seems to be a Berube type player. You can see his fingerprints all over this move. Where he slots in, we'll have to see. And of course, the feel-good story of Reimer, it comes to an end. But you get a look at a goalie like Primeau, and who knows what this situation is with Dennis Hildeby if that doesn't change soon, because Hildeby certainly earned a spot as a backup, but he also has an easier time being put on waivers. So I'm sure there's a lot of things going on waivers. I'm sorry, sent down to the Marlies. So there's a lot of things going on there. But as long as Anthony Stolarz stays healthy, no guarantee, obviously, but things look good. Certainly, he's had a pretty good preseason. So I think the the backup goaltending situation will sort itself out, and we'll have to see what Blais can add to this team. Looking forward to hearing from both Craig Berube and Brad Treliving on this topic today, if not tomorrow.
Yeah, Sammy Blais, as Lance said, the Berube's got the familiarity there, and we're talking about someone who, listen, he's going to be a fourth line guy. The size speaks to that. He didn't play in the NHL last year, but he helped Abbotsford win the Calder Cup in the American Hockey League. So there's that pedigree. Of course, like we mentioned, he has the cup ring with the Blues in 2019. So a bit of a winning attitude, if you will, that Blais will bring in. But, anyone looking beyond bottom six here is probably asking for too much. And as for Primeau, they clearly just felt that the Leafs did, that there was, despite the experience of Reimer and the fact he's been in the league so long, they go with the younger option in Primeau. I think he has 55 career games, all with Montreal, after, he was traded to Carolina in June and then obviously didn't make it there. So, yeah, the backup role, I mean, it all depends on what the Joseph Woll situation is and how that winds up playing out. My thing would be, though, that, in a perfect world, Woll comes back and, he and Stolarz are the tandem that they were meant to be. I don't think Primeau should be getting starts at the expense of Hildeby in the minors, just like I thought Reimer shouldn't have been either. So that'll be a bridge that they cross when they have to. But for now, Primeau is the guy backing up Stolarz. And, assuming that things fall into place they usually do, we'll see him fairly soon in Leaf uniforms, a back-to-back next Monday, Tuesday, and they have 3 in October alone. So I don't think it'll be too long before Leaf fans get a look at Cayden Primeau in blue and white.
I think the big winners in all this might be the Montreal media, because now they have 3 French-speaking Leafs for tomorrow's game, as well as ex-Hab Cayden Primeau. So they're probably very happy at the results of yesterday's waiver wire.
Well, I'm expecting plenty of media to descend upon Toronto for game number 1 of the season, Maple Leafs and Habs opening up the year on a Wednesday night. As always, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. For Lance Hornby and Terry Koshan, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.